Good morning, No Man's Sky fans, travelers, and interlopers. Welcome to episode 20 of NMS's Life, where No Man's Sky is more than just a game, it's a way of life. With me, as always, is my friend and fellow co-host, DG Squared. Good morning, DG.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone today?
I'm excellent as always, my dude. As the second week, I believe, of the NMS Olympics has kicked off. It looked like it was a lot of fun. Today we have another special guest joining us. He's a member of the NMS Olympic Committee and VP of Promotions and Racing, Captain Admin. So thank you very much for joining the show this morning, my dude, and nice to meet you.
Me too, guys. Hello, everyone. This is the captain speaking.
This is the captain speaking. So thanks very much for joining us, dude. We got an exciting show because we're going to talk about a few things. DG, how did the Olympics go this weekend?
Well, the Olympics were fantastic. Unfortunately, I missed Saturday's race, but I caught up all on the details, watching some of Gex footage on the Amino Hub and Cafe. Some great stuff there. They had which one was it? The cave race that Rabbit Gripper had designed. Really an amazing race. He found a cave system that had no stalactites or stalagmites. So going through it was actually kind of fun instead of the usual, crashing through stuff. It was really, really fun. He made a nice semi-complex setup in a cave, and it was really, really cool. I wish I could have taken part in that. I'm going to have to go back and race that one myself with Rabbit Gripper. Sunday, we had the Nautilon Roll. That was the one that I designed. That one turned out great. We had, 8 contestants.
8 rollers. Oh, I think
that was probably one of the biggest turnouts I've seen for the Olympic event so far, which was kind of amazing.
Yeah, it was. I wish you could have been there, but I understand work comes. So, but it's always open for anyone who wants to drop on by. There's a portal address, so I'll leave that base there. Captain Admin, you are also one of the Olympic Committee head members, Vice President of Promotion and Races. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Now, back when we were first starting the preliminary of the Olympics, of course, last year I was the curator and chairman for the Sentinel Squash, as you call it, maybe the Sentinel Challenge.
Sentinel Slaughter was the name, I believe.
Sentinel Slaughter. Thank you. I lost the words there for a bit. But yeah, Sodacon kind of came back with me on that and asked me if I could help him with that and curate a couple of the races for this Olympics, of course. I love to take part. Alongside science fiction and role-playing games, one of my personal favorites, starting out with gaming, is racing. I love Gran Turismo. I love the Wipeout series. Now that they actually put racing back into the game since Next, it leaves a whole new opportunity for races to kind of take off and expand from what they were. Me and Soda were exploring early on with Next and actually found a planet in Captain's Landing in the Amino Hub that has little natural grooves and like little valleys to it. Looks kind of like a NASCAR racetrack. And that's where it came up the whole idea for the low atmosphere ship flight, which I personally developed for the Olympics and should be an awesome track.
Oh, that sounds great.
I know I'm looking forward to that particular race as well. That one looks just fantastic. I think it's the first of its kind in the Olympics. The low flight mode, that should be really, really cool. I can't wait to try it out. I've been avoiding not testing it just so that it would be so awesome and new when I get a chance to race it. How long did it take to design that track?
Well, I had to go back and analyze whether or not I should use the little checkpoint, like the little beacons, or actually use bases for the checkpoints, because Hello Games doesn't have a full system for that kind of racing just yet. I decided eventually to go with beacons, and I'm going to test run it with Soda here within the coming week to see whether or not I should put bases down. If I do put bases down, I'm going to have like a little checkpoint system. I have the starting grid kind of look like a pit crew of sorts, because I was originally making it as an Exocraft track at first, complete with the new wooden block pieces, because I was kind of experimenting with the whole floating track like Wipeout has, where you could actually go along the different wooden boards and kind of bank the turns and stuff like that game.
Right.
That sounds really fun.
It doesn't work like that. You have to actually have the pieces close enough to the earth so the checkpoints actually land on the ground. But if you can get past that and kind of have it like ramps going down towards the ground, then you can make checkpoints like that. But I have a whole spectator stand. It kind of looks like a official racetrack almost.
I can't wait to try it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
So you can guide them, I guess, with like your checkpoints, like a beacon, just a marker, something that they can see when they're flying around. Is that what you mean? Like, so they know where they're going?
Yes. Currently, it's what I have in place. I believe that should be good enough, hopefully, for the racers to pick up on. I have the different beacons at checkpoints where the race would turn. And a lot of it is mostly just straightaways, because the ships I've tested on, being haulers, are kind of a little sluggish. But the turns are very, what's the word for it? They're very banked. It's sudden turns. Just kind of capitalize with different ship speeds. But it should be interesting. There's a long straightaway at first, and it kind of like has a near 360-degree turn around and then back towards the base. It'd be kind of sweet. Let's see.
I look forward to hearing about people's maneuverability skills in their fighters and whatnot.
Yeah, sounds cool.
I actually tested out the original course in my A-class shuttle, which you wouldn't think shuttles would be that fast in the ground, but it actually is pretty fast.
Well, you just happen to be speaking with one of the shuttle aficionados of the game. Dylan here just loves shuttles. What did you name your shuttle? What was it called again?
I had a few names. Right now it's the Tavares 91.
The Tavares 91, yeah. I know, it looks really cool from behind, too.
Yeah, she's a beauty. I love
it's called mine, the NS.
Yeah, underrated vehicles, I have to admit.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So, Captain Admin, that's not all that you do for the Amino Hub. You also write some pretty amazing stories. I've been following you since I first came to the Amino Hub. And some of the stories that you write are really, really amazing, very detailed and thorough. And you've actually delved into the world of role-playing and created characters and cards specifically for it as well. You want to tell us a little bit about some of the characters that you've developed?
Well, I started out on Amino, the app, back in August of 2016, a little after I got the game. Of course, No Man's Sky at that point was basically a slate. It had all the worlds, it had all the different ships and programming for it, but it kind of felt like an empty world. There wasn't really anything there. I mean, there was a couple different alien outposts periodically that you come across, but it would be these open worlds, just kind of empty, with a bunch of different animals and plants, and of course sentinels. And since No Man's Sky didn't really have a storyline at that point, I always questioned myself as to what happened. Where was everyone in the galaxy? What had caused the galaxy to kind of become this sort of devoid and empty world? While Hello Games in the background tried to make sense of it and create their own storyline. So I was kind of trying to make sense of a universe that was as broad and as wide as the Euclid in No Man's Sky.
And what did you come up?
And I came up. What's that?
I was going to say, what did you come up with?
Oh, I started out originally with one of my very first wiki cards on the original NMS Amino, called the Sentinel Incursion. Okay. And that's where I effectively I took cues from XCOM alongside Star Wars and a couple other science fiction stories. where I made this group of elite soldiers that were tasked by Atlas to find out why the Sentinels did what they did, why they were hostile on certain planets, why they weren't,
Right.
why for some reason that aliens don't really exist anywhere but few select outposts around the systems. And so I built this whole system around hunting the Sentinels and finding more information about them and gathering the lore to try to find a solution to how to actually understand the Sentinels and pacify them if at all possible.
And you came up with an interesting theory or story too, backstory along with that, how the first spawn was kind of being hunted and exterminated. Can you elaborate a little more on that little twist that you've put that you added?
Was of course, that one there was actually a recent development. I'd mostly focused primarily on Vy'keen lore up until just recently. And while that is good with hunting Sentinels, not necessarily the whole picture. I read into the different Gamepedia articles and different lore stones within No Man's Sky, and with the Gek, it's almost entirely based upon the first spawn, which aren't really a species you see around anymore. They're the precursors to the Gek. And these first spawn were kind of amazing creatures. They were almost like part Jedi, part pirate, part space wizard, and they kind of had a firm iron grip on the galaxy, where that any species they came upon, they crushed.
Yeah,
No one could stand up against.
They were badasses, yeah.
Yeah, but because of these Sentinels coming, they were kind of thrown a wrench. They didn't know what to do. They understood the Korvax and their physiology, they understood the technology. They couldn't understand the Sentinels. And the Sentinels coming, whether it be from Atlas or not, which is a debate on Gamepedia, caused this whole upheaval of first spawn culture. And together with the Korvax, we managed to assimilate their culture with the Gek. It eventually just killed off the first spawn. They couldn't survive. They were kind of taken away and never to be seen again.
Kind of like the Jedi Order being exterminated.
Well, I think that's what makes so interesting is not just that they're still there, is that they've been exterminated completely. So there's that mystery of the amazing first spawn.
Sean Murray's admitted that even though they are not in the game currently, there is the possibility that they could return. And what I think is kind of like the Jedi or the Sith Order from Star Wars, is that they're in hiding. They're just hiding in deep space or freighters or under the ocean, just waiting to come back.
Do you think that some of the new lore that has been introduced refers to the first spawn returning?
It definitely could lead to it being the first spawn returning. With No Man's Sky, the primary enemy has always been the Sentinels, or what I call the Aeron race, which is their original name. Most people refer to them as the robotic drones, the dog walkers, or what look like the ATSTs. But they're actually organic underneath those armor. And the original race was called the Aeron race. But with that, I believe that the universe is wide enough and diverse enough to include more creatures like, of course, the biological horrors, which include the alien xenomorphs, and of course the new abyssal horrors underneath the water. But I think the first spawn could actually come back and pose a serious threat to civilization, what's left of it.
It definitely makes for some really interesting lore, and it would really add to the game, I think, as well. Not just introducing another species, but one that currently exists, so as a different. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh no, I hear you.
But yeah, having the first spawn being sort of reborn, or sounds like it could actually really fit perfectly right into the storyline, and that could be what is being warned, that they're quote, they are coming, and so on. Captain, what what are some of the stories that you've written other than the characters and character development? I know there's a whole series of stories you've written about the Amino Hub and traveling to and from and around the Amino Hub. Could you explain a little bit some of those?
Of course. In that time frame, I was kind of in the middle of first forming the idea of what would eventually become the TSFR, which was my role-play group originally within the old hub, which was the task force freelance. Originally was Raiders. It's now Rangers. The FAAR was my friend's group. I absorbed after he left the game, which became this from TSF to TSFR. But starting out, I was actually headed towards the Galactic Hub, which had just recently formed. And I just happened with the star chart, I was able to find out that was actually only about 200 light years away from the Galactic Hub. And then I heard rumors and whisperings about Soda and Boyd and the Survival Guru traveling out to Starfall, and the star for that one, which was the whole basis behind this Bahifu app. And so I made a story about how Captain Truly, who, as he's known at the time, discovered a whole subsect of Vy'keen in the northern edge of the galaxy that was holding off the Sentinels. And I made it so that the Vy'keen were basically the last line of defense against the Sentinels, as completely overrunning the galaxy and just taking over everything, so that it was basically uninhabitable. But they had formed this new version of themselves, trying to protect the Rim from danger. And so I decided to regroup with this group out in the Amino Hub, and it came across a whole different subsect of the Rangers, including what will eventually become Captain Admin, which is my new character, permanent character within the game now. Along the way, also, I created a group of Vy'keen warriors called the Vy'keen Vanquishers, which I hope to eventually rebuild in game. They were pretty awesome. It's a group of about 4 or 5 different Vy'keen super commandos that were named after different melee weapons, like halbert, broadsword.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
remember these. I remember that. Yeah,
I like that.
I hope I get a chance to actually build them one day in game with actual players.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, that is really kind of cool. Your stories are pretty amazing. Have you ever thought about possibly applying to other game companies for story writing or anything like that?
I thought about it. I heard rumors about a year ago, right before Atlas Rises came out, that Hello Games was actually looking for a writer, and I actually applied for that one.
Oh, really?
And yep, that wasn't accepted. The reason being for that one, I actually got pretty far in the process through email. They wanted someone that actually lives in London, in England, to go over and live there permanently. I'm not in a really position to move.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks, eh?
That's awesome, though, man. That you apply.
With people, I get contact with people within the studio. They're actually really interested in my work. And saw what I was doing with the Sentinels and the Vy'keen, but they want someone that could go into England and live there full time to
work out of the office, I guess.
To live there.
Yeah.
Well, as the company grows, there may be a need for another writer, somewhere in more closer to your local area. Just having your name on their radar is a good thing. Other game companies may even approach you as well. That's fantastic, dude. I had no idea that you were even approached or that you had applied for the position.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great. Wow.
From Maryland.
Keep doing it. Yeah, keep doing it. You should. Your stories are fantastic, and I've always loved them, which is why you're on the show today, because not a lot of people outside the Amino Hub may have heard of Captain Admin and his adventures, but those of you who haven't or who have the Amino Hub app, I strongly recommend checking out some of his stories and the wikis that he's written. He's got an extensive history of wikis, all the stories and role play based on the characters that he's developed and so on and so forth. I've read almost every one of them as he's published them and enjoyed them.
Yeah, and the thing is too with the No Man's Sky Amino, like you're saying, if you guys aren't in the NMS Cafe or in the Amino Hub, there's a lot of posts in there where people aren't just playing the game at face value and, you know, building a base and moving on to the next planet. There's a lot of role players out there that are creating their own little stories, and because of that, because they're also all members of the Aminos, sometimes those stories will mesh together. There'll be, you know, there's a group of role players, and all of a sudden they kind of mesh together with another group of role players, and they bring their stories together, and that is really fun to kind of follow on the Aminos, whether you want to take part in the journey by playing with them or just reading in the Aminos. Yeah, there's a lot of role play going on, and a lot of it sounds really cool.
Oh yeah, and there's chat rooms. You know, you can make posts, so on. I mean, it's a great media output. I use it an awful lot. Sorry, outsource. I use it heavily and enjoy it all the time. The community is fantastic, and you know, Captain Admin is a fixture. He's always there, and he's got these adventures and stories, and he's always involved in community events, the Olympics being his latest. I'm really looking forward to some of your other future endeavors. What have you got coming up? Have you got any particular races coming up after the Olympics that you might be thinking of?
Well, now that you can build multiple bases then next, as well as multiplayer being extended now, there's been a tournament that I've been bouncing on and off of now for the past 2 years or so, called the Solar Crown. And I kind of want it to be a month-long racing event that makes its own official tournament within No Man's Sky, which would take place first in the Amino Hub and then spread out depending on public interest. But I have ideas for about a little over half a dozen tracks, and the idea of having maybe 2 or 3 races a week for the span of a month, and kind of making a point system to determine who is the champion within No Man's Sky's racing community. I think is an untapped market potential for it. I'm hoping that the low flight atmosphere races to catch on to the point that Hello Games would be tempted to actually release a companion for that, which would allow for more low level races.
Yeah.
I also
that would be pretty awesome. It would really be awesome.
It'd be neat to see like rings. Yeah, like rings or something you have to fly through.
Or for that matter, even a low flight mode vehicle.
Yeah.
Something that flies but not outside of the atmosphere.
Like a hovercraft or something, or
yeah, that would be really kind of cool. And it's possible. They keep introducing new exocraft.
Yeah.
I want to see them expand the roles of freighters, because I feel like freighters have the opportunity to be this all-encompassing vehicle.
Dude, I hear you.
Like, I know. You can go there,
yeah,
and you have all your ships, of course, but you go to another garage, and here's all your exocraft.
Yeah.
And there's different landing vehicles and different, like, low-atmosphere planet-to-planet ships.
Yeah.
And it could be your base, your hub. It could be literally everything in game when it comes to the exploration.
You know what I'd like to see them do with freighters is have them be able to land on a planet with your freighter. So you can bring your whole team with you. You can have like your whole group of 4 guys, and then take your freighter and actually land it. Because you see crashed freighters on planets. I want to be able to land it somewhere and then deploy my vehicles, deploy my, like you say, it's just my mobile base, you know, and have my whole crew with me. I think that would be rad.
Another idea I'd like to see.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
They already have a group of NPCs that can be in your base. Well, it could take a step further and actually have animations so that you can actually have your NPCs come along with you.
Like a crew.
You can actually make a squad of 4 to 5 NPCs following you around. And
your own entourage.
Yeah, they could fly your spare ships around your freighter, you know, and protect it or something. Or, I don't know.
You could have one person defend your base. You could have one person gather resources. You could have one person scanning different wildlife and stuff, another one following you. It would be great.
Sort of a lower class of missions that you see with the frigates.
Well, they've hinted at. Well, they did say there is another big. This was one of 2 large expansions coming. Like I'm talking about the Abyss being one of those. So I'll ask both of you guys, what do you think is, like, because we're talking of all these great ideas, what do you think we're going to see in the next big update? Are we going to see a new vehicle? Are we going to see maybe some expansions to what you can do with the freighters or whatnot?
Well, I'm thinking a little bit of ship customization. We've been seeing an awful lot of the color customization with the exosuits and the exocraft. I've heard rumors that there was some coding found regarding color customization or some kind of customization for ships,
right?
And multi-tools. So it sounds very plausible that might be introduced in the next update. I know I'm looking forward to that. I pick up ships all the time. Be able to change color on a ship would be
nice.
That would be kind of really nice. Make it just a little bit, more your own. Decals would be kind of a nice surprise as well. Be able to plaster your vehicle decals and change the color. What are your thoughts, Captain? What do you think?
Well, as for what the game needs versus what I would want for the game, I do know that there was coding in the Abyss DLC for a hovercraft vehicle called the Dragonfly, which didn't appear in the game, which I found rather strange. I think, if anything, we'll see that vehicle come out with the next DLC, but I'm not sure that'll be the huge thing behind it. Honestly, with the way things have been going, I think we need a general building overhaul just so that the different materials will work better together. Because I know that working with the new Next materials versus the old modular Pathfinder materials is kind of clunky at best. They can find some ways to fuse them together and make them more useful.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I would be happy about that for sure. Some of the painful attempts of building I've had are just that, very painful at times. Trying to get something to snap together. Some of it works and some of it doesn't. Yeah, some refinements definitely need to be made on that part.
Alongside maybe expanding freighter customization, like I was saying earlier about making it more freighter-based. Like, you go to a system, the first thing you want to do is check your freighter and see all the different ships that are on there, all the different tasks you can do. Have it be so that if you go to a system, the game kind of makes a radiant quest for you to kind of explore it. Like, say, for example, you get to a system.
Yeah, little mini missions that you can send your crew on within that own system. Ship crashes
on a planet, for example, and like a specific piece breaks for it, and your goal is to kind of explore around and kind of feel about like where different parts are of the system, like different climates.
Yeah, I'd like more of
NPCs.
More of a need for your freighter. Like right now, it just seems like it stores your ship. Like you use your freighter to store your ships and to send your frigates on missions. And I'd like to see, I'd like to see them open it up. I want to go to I want a reason to go to my freighter more than just that. Like I want to go and see. I think their command rooms or command centers that they have. I'd like to be able to access a screen or a computer and do a lot of different type of in-game management through that system, but on the freighter. Whether it's your ship customization, whether it's plotting something on the star map, like have a star map that you can access on board, type of deal. I'd like more of a reason, more options on that freighter. I think just to want to hang out there more, I think would be a good idea.
About the star map there, I'd never thought about that. That's definitely one of the ideas I want to see is a little bit more integration with navigating the galaxy.
Yeah.
Right now the map's sort of a little too massive to try to get around to explore unless you've actually been to a certain location.
Yeah.
I feel like it should miniaturize it and have it be some sort of, like, say for example, the name of the planet you want to go to. So you want to go to Starfall. But it actually show you physically on the map where Starfall is versus where you are. Kind of like the Beheathu app has right now. And actually have you travel to it a little bit more cohesively.
Yeah. Well, how cool would it be to go on your freighter and access a terminus that shows you the Galactic Atlas instead of actually having to use the Galactic Atlas app, or website? Because not all people, some people that play on console, they may not have a PC, they may not have access to it on their phones or whatever, but that Galactic Atlas is pretty cool just to look at and to see all the things that have been mapped on it and get coordinates and things from there. I think it would be really awesome to be able to go to your freighter and access the Galactic Atlas And hopefully they'll expand on that and make it, not just the Euclid galaxy, but keep going further and further and let us as the players kind of map the galaxy through that atlas.
That would be really tremendous. Yeah, to be able to see the galactic atlas in your freighter and manage things throughout.
And the players map
absolutely.
it,
Oh man, yeah, that would be just such an improvement. I mean, right now it's just an extension of regular, ship warping. Pull up your galactic map and go wherever you want.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
Fine and dandy. Yeah. It is, but yeah, there could definitely be some major improvements in that regard with the galactic atlas, and having systems that are already discovered hubs, systems and civilizations already there mapped out.
Yeah,
and you can easily just go there by selecting one of those destination points. Right, that would be really amazing.
It was one thing that I forgot to touch on with my lore is that one of the reasons I built around the Sentinel incursion was the whole traveling to different galaxies part of it. I thought that Euclid on its own was such a huge galaxy that I kind of subliminally promised myself that unless they made something really huge for Halbert or Calypso or Eisentam, that I wasn't actually personally going to get to the center of the galaxy. I've been purposely avoiding it. Just for the purpose of staying with the different hubs and different sub-areas, because I feel like the Euclid is such a huge galaxy to explore that it would take us decades to really even get like a fourth or a quarter or a third of the galaxy explored. And so I kind of incorporated alongside the Sentinel incursion storyline that the whole point of traveling the center of the galaxy might have been the theory as to why these systems were so devoid. Mm-hmm. And if it was, then it could possibly be a trap.
Well, they even warn against it in some of the early lore that still is used today. That you're drawn to the center, but you shouldn't go, as it says. And many players have gone the opposite direction and sought out the outside of the galaxy to see what's on the outer rim,
which is awesome.
Yeah, well, I know the Cafe 42, Civ and Hub went out there, and it's almost very refreshing. You start to see differences between different areas of the galaxy. Closer to the center, everything's sort of as it should be, normal. Ships and multi-tools all spawn at their normal thing. But out in the outer rim there, we've been finding that they spawn at slightly different patterns, and there seems to be a greater number of wealthier systems, I guess is the best way of putting it. And so, there's really cool stuff that is still way to be explored, and it isn't even on the map practically. It's way at the very back of, and that's just the Euclid galaxy. Think of all the other galaxies that are yet to be explored.
The untouched ones,
I've explored a whole whack of them myself, but not in great detail. I mean, let's face it, I've screamed through most of them at breakneck speed.
Doing the IRL race league,
That's right. But what I have seen has been some pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And in each galaxy, there is something that holds very cool for everybody. You just don't know where it is. Yeah. It's just out there somewhere. Even the ugly galaxies like Calypso or Hilbert, there's something out there for somebody, for everybody. They're just hidden, right? And there's just so many stars. I mean, just think of the Euclid over and over and over again. Billions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was something there that I tapped on. Should you guys remember the contest we had? It's what Newman Sky is in one picture. But I kind of added a little bit more context into that, at least my opinion to it personally. Silicon mentioned it to me once when he was visiting my base. But if you look at certain places in the sky, you can see the actual star patterns around you. You can fly up into space and look up into the galaxy map and see these stars all around you. I mean, it's amazing how far in game you can go. If you look for it in game, you can travel to it. If you see something in game that you like, you can explore it, and you can find so much different secrets regarding it. You could literally do just about everything in this game when it comes to colonization and space travel. And I hope eventually it inspires people to do it in real life. I mean, with the technology to, why can't we go to Mars or Venus or Jupiter or Mercury?
I like you.
Yeah, so
you're talking right up my alley, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I hear you. It makes me it does. Like I follow NASA. I have the NASA app on my phone and on my tablet, and I watch the news of, you know, their progress and things like that. And we're not far from that, man. We really aren't. And that's another reason why I play this game. You know, it's just the space exploration, the feeling of being up there, you know, in that void, that empty space, and not knowing, not necessarily not knowing, because I think we all know when we play No Man's Sky, we pretty much know what's out there right now at this point, especially for long-time players. But it's still that large space. Some people complain that, you know, there's not much difference between galaxy to galaxy or whatnot, but to me it's more just the another large room to play in, and that just, it's like space. It just reminds me of the big void, the big emptiness of space. And
and everything is in a different spot. You know, like it's just all scrambled, right? Yeah. Somebody took a bag of marbles, threw them up in the air, and any random, you know, configuration is what all the galaxies are.
Yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah,
and it does. It pumps your imagination. It really does. It gets you thinking of, and not outlandish things. I don't mean it pumps your imagination. Of course it does. It pumps your imagination to come up with fictional things. But going back to what Captain was saying, like it makes me think of actual astronauts and exploring space and things like that. And this game has really crept into our lives, I think, and has made a huge impact on them. You know.
Well, the game is alive in itself, and all the characters and the fans and the people in the communities that play the game, they all drive the game, and it's a living entity. The community is the game, and it's not, you know, we don't just play the game; we are the game.
And the developers,
what we do shapes the game, how it's played, how others play it.
Exactly.
It's that kind of an amazing game where you can do anything, and that's how it shapes the game.
And the last you know, letter to the fans that Sean Murray wrote there with those patch notes, you know, where he states, "We are listening." That's been evident, you know, since the very first update that they dropped, that the developers listened to the community. Like you say, this is a community-driven game. It's like, you know, I know nothing of making video games, yet we are all part of making No Man's Sky because the developers allow us to enter that world. They want feedback surveys. They want to know what we think sucks, what we think rocks, what we want in the game, what we want out of the game, and they do it.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
Times with the original amino hub or the amino group that I was with, that actually felt like there were people among us, and in fact, I know there were people among us that were working on Hello Games. Noam Chomsky, who was one of the curators for the original No Man's Sky amino, was actually a developer for the game. He was working on the game in the background for us while it was still in the early parts for the game. But there was these times during the Pathfinder updates where we were talking to the NPCs, where the actual missions with weapons terminals and the exocraft terminal people would say stuff that I felt like I was writing at that time about, like, I'd written an article there once about the chances of being more than just one god like Atlas. And all of a sudden they mentioned, this as a throwaway line, but about 3 or 4, possibly 5 more different machines like Atlas in the galaxy that could be out there.
Yeah, it's funny when that happens, because then you think, are they listening to it, like, to me? Like, they put this in here because I asked for it, or what?
It feels like it sometimes. It really does.
It does.
I mean, other than the one thing that I've not seen from them yet is the multiple multi-tools. I know we've been asking about this for
which is
how many updates?
I was going to say, like, since
4 updates now.
Yeah,
but
since Foundation.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Yeah, the one thing they haven't responded yet, and I'm sure they probably have in time. But
honestly, I think
in their minds need to take place before they bring.
Yeah.
It was two, honestly. Have one be maxed out for mining, one maxed out for combat. That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. A couple of different multi-tools for, designated certain things, combat or mining or just scanning for that matter. Because there's lots of them really cool tools out there. It'd be really awesome to have more than just the one. Hopefully, I'll keep my fingers crossed. You never know.
Could you imagine building your own multi-tool? Crafting your own.
That'd be kind of sweet.
That would be interesting. Finding parts and components and having to piece them together to make your own.
Put some spikes on it with those crystals and.
Yeah, I know some of them definitely look like they've been pieced together and glued together.
Oh,
you know? But
strap the Gravitino ball right on top of
it. Yeah, no kidding. Eh? Yeah, S-class Gravitino. One of the questions I wanted to ask you before our time is out, Captain, is. Your involvement with the ARG, have you had any? Do you plan on getting involved in it in the next installment that comes up? Or do you even enjoy the ARG events that No Man's Sky has brought to us?
ARG's definitely brought a whole other element, and it's kind of one of the things, personally, I think that kind of brings the game more to life than most people would have it. One of my biggest regrets in games, I had not been personally involved with the other ARGs. I understand it. I understand where it's going, but I don't really follow it before. But if they make another one coming up for this next big update, I will follow it. Because I've heard Lily talk about it whenever the first one came up, and all the different lore details for it. I think it's personally a great way to expand the story.
Yeah.
Definitely plan on doing the next ARG whenever it happens. And who knows, I might get to the point where I can actually write my own ARG about the game.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah.
That would be amazing. I'd love to hear that. Damn.
I'd play along. Yeah.
Hell yeah. They've been really cool. I've never taken part in an ARG until No Man's Sky introduced one to me. And it almost seems fitting that somebody with your talents would fit right in that mold of creating and writing an ARG event for a video game or even No Man's Sky itself.
I have no experience with it, but it would definitely be a creative and quite excellent task to be put up to try to make
you're a natural. You're a natural writer. I'm sure you've just got to be given a few guidelines to go with it, because your stories are truly creative. I wouldn't even think of some of the things that you've done.
Is that the Amino Hub has so many different talented individuals. You have SodaCon, who personally, in my opinion, is one of the best event planners I've ever seen. We put up to actually have 2 Olympics back-to-back years, as huge as they are, with as little to work off of. Is just amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, you have Boyd, who's this amazing builder. He can build virtually anything in game. I actually have an idea to build a replica of the Valley of the Sith Lords from Star Wars on another planet that I'm going to get the GCC to do eventually.
Oh, dude.
Man, that's going to be awesome.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and Boyd's going to do it. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You have that, and you have Niblet, who, of course, is one of the best community leaders I've ever seen when it comes to getting to know the actual players personally, of getting in touch with people. And then, of course, Swisher, who does a great job with the Aquapotica Tribune, which was something that Xenix and I started that he really perfected, in my opinion. I'm happy to see that continue.
That's right. You did it originally for the Amino Hub, if I'm not mistaken.
I was the second person to do it. Xenix, who was one of the curators back when the hub first started, was the first. And then I took over from him. And then whenever I left and became inactive for a little bit, Swisher took over.
Nice.
Yeah. No, there's
Swisher's done a good job. Yeah, he has. He's made some really, really good tribunes out there.
There's so many of the right people doing those things, like you say, like they just fell into these roles naturally, whether they're just a creative content creator in No Man's Sky or a leader of an Amino group. Everybody just does such a great job. The NMS Cafe DG, like yourself and Lily, are another pair that, you know, are just so warm, welcoming to new players. And like you say, these events like the No Man's Sky Olympics and things like that, it's fun for all of us. It's fun for the longtime players, but I think it's important for the new players to know as well that there's more to No Man's Sky than what's in the game. There's a lot of outside elements that people bring in, whether it's role-playing, storytelling, the Olympics, sporting events, the ARGs. There's a whole world of No Man's Sky without actually having to turn it on. And then when you do turn it on, you've got everything, you know, behind you. It's awesome.
Oh, you're totally right. It really is. Like you always say, Dylan, it's an open sandbox. Just come and play. Here's a bucket. Here's a shovel.
Yep.
Go to it. You know,
there's that. It just takes.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't take much. Just a little imagination and have some fun.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what we do. That's what we all do. Captain does a great job. He comes up with some great stories, and his lore is fantastic. That's his way of playing, and I love it. I read all of those stories, and he's got them all there. You can check them out. I should see if I can try and get a link on here for the Amino Hub and Captain Admin stories.
Oh, definitely do. Yeah, I'll have them in the description below as well of the YouTube video.
Oh, sweet.
But if you can for the
it's
chat,
nice. It takes a village to raise a child. In many ways, No Man's Sky itself is probably the perfect example, that allegory is.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
There's so many different talented people in game that kind of make the game itself run the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
And No Man's Sky would just be a game by itself, without its community. But with the community, it adds so much different elements to it. The game itself is alive, and it feels like it's alive. And I guess the whole purpose of NMS is life, is that it's supposed to be more than this.
Exactly. You nailed it. Yeah. And I mean, in the developers know that too. I mean, that's why they bring the ARG and all that stuff. Unfortunately, I think a lot of kickback though. It kind of upset me when I saw the question on the survey, would you want another ARG? Because I kind of almost felt like they might think, you know, are we doing this too much? Do people not like this? You know, and I hope that's not the case, because from what I've seen, the majority of the fans enjoy it. I know a lot of people don't enjoy the ARG, but I mean, you've got to wait for an update regardless. So why not fill that time with a fun thing to do outside of the game? And to me, that's brilliant. And I hope they don't stop. I hope they don't stop doing that.
I agree. It's a nice element. I don't think anyone else really is doing ARGs or any kind of events outside of the game like this.
Definitely not like this.
Most games usually wrap up after a couple of years.
I was gonna
very
say,
few have a shelf life longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still coming up with updates, and the game is almost new after every one of those updates. They introduce so much content. It's almost like a new game again. I mean, now you can play it third person.
Yeah.
You know,
Sean Murray.
We hadn't had that in almost 2 years.
Sean Murray or Hello Games, like any other developer, we would have had this been over by the time Atlas Rises came out. Atlas Rises would have been the last DLC. That would have been it. They would have waited to a new game, or possibly never do it again. Just kind of leave the concept unexplored. But Next kind of came and it made No Man's Sky new. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to be No Man's Sky 2. It made the game new again. It was like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you're right, man. Because when Atlas Rises dropped, I seriously thought that's it for big updates. We'll get little tiny tweaks here and there. Maybe they'll add a few things. You know, like when they added the Pilgrim, they just kind of added it. Yeah, I thought maybe they would add just a few things after Atlas Rises. But as far as big updates, I thought this is it. This is all, you know, like where can we go from here? And then, like you just said, when they brought No Man's Sky Next, it was a game changer, literally. Like, it changed everything, and it was like what the hell, man? Like, what have we walked into? Like, the game 2 years ago, you know, so different from what it is today, and it just keeps getting better. Is it going to be the same? Like, is it like 2 years from now? Is it going to be even crazier, or like, what are they going to keep doing with this game? You know? Yeah, like it seems to be like. Not like, it's not like they were stubborn. I think it's that they love sci-fi so much. If you've read anything about Sean Murray, especially, and like the books that he's read and the sci-fi that he loves, you know, his favorite scenes in Star Wars and things like that. This is a guy who just loves sci-fi. This is their first sci-fi game, and it's like they don't want it to fail. They just refuse to let it fail, you know, and they keep making it better and better, and they're not forcing it down anyone's throat. They're just making it better so that people want to play it, and it's incredible what they've done.
Yeah, it is. And we've seen a huge influx of new players.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Games sort of... I've read different things about Sean Murray, and he's admitted multiple times this was his life dream. He wanted a game to basically emulate the galaxy and the universe and space travel. And it shows. I mean, this is a person's passion project.
Yeah.
His life dream, and we're just along the journey with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the other thing, and they've made it so unique. That's the other thing. Like, I love... You could put any space game in front of me, and I'm probably going to enjoy it. I love EVE Online. I love Elite Dangerous. Games like that. Even Star Citizen, you know, it's got a bad rap. I like hopping on there every once in a while. But the thing is, the common theme with most space games is they do look like outer space, what we would see if we were to be astronauts, you know, like Chris Hadfield or something. If we're launched up into space, we're seeing a black canvas with stars and planets and things like that. No Man's Sky is like we're not in the Milky Way. We're in something completely, you know, far out there. You know, different galaxies, all these things, and the aesthetic of the game itself is just so unique and beautiful. And then on top of that, the size of the game just blows it wide open.
Well, they're also, you know, like developing as they go.
Yeah.
Some of the ideas that they've introduced were never really even part of the original plan. I think Exocraft fall under that category, but they've introduced them, and it's made the game better. And made the game better by listening to the fans and developing as they go. I mean, it's kind of like a free-flowing game development, and we're all taking part in it.
Yeah, and they're not done. They're not done yet.
One of those things. It's the whole sea bases and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of remind me of Oda Gunga from Episode 1 of Star Wars. You go down to Gungan City.
Yeah. Those dudes.
You can walk through a wall and it goes into the building.
Yeah. You gotta swim for 20 minutes to get there.
Oh, I remember the days of swimming. Man, oh God, swimming. Much big improvements on the game in that regard, just in that one tiny little thing. You know, water motion and traveling through water, even without the Nautilus, it's huge.
Yeah. You can, because you can use your jetpacks and everything now too, right, to push yourself through. And
and there's stuff down there now too. Yeah, they've introduced all these new cool things. I don't know what those huge eggs are, but they're pretty cool looking. And that giant anglerfish, don't want to piss him off.
Oh yeah.
Missile hole underneath the water. It's a giant eye.
Yeah, those guys are dicks.
They are creepy. Creepy.
Scared whenever I first saw that thing in the game, and it kind of sucked you in. I mean, that was crazy.
Have you let one Have you let one take you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I haven't seen what happens.
Yeah, I let him take me to see what he would do, and it slowly damages you, and you got to try and break free.
Oh, so he just wrecks you right
tapping
there.
The square button a whole bunch of times.
Oh,
it's what I would imagine. Spawn coming to get into play, and they have those different powers. It's what I'd imagine what one of them would look like. It's just ability to hold your player in place and slowly damage you, and then let you go.
I always check it out. I've always wanted to do it, and then I'm like, no, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, it doesn't take that much damage off you. It's kind of like a fish nipping at you.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, before we go for today, what's up for next weekend? NMS Olympics. What's happening? So we got we had the Nautilon roll, and what did we have this weekend that just passed again?
We had the cave race and the Nautilon roll. I I'm not sure. I think the Nomad long jump is coming up.
Okay.
And the low flight. When is the low flight? Is that next weekend, Captain?
It's this coming Saturday.
Okay.
That's this Saturday. Okay, yeah. So definitely don't miss that one. Hopefully I
Pull
can
up a
make it.
map here for this.
Yeah.
We had the low flight ship race. That is on 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UTC. That same day, the TOG Solar System race on 5 p.m.
Right.
And then the 25th, we have the Dark Tower Decathlon, which Ranger made. Which
yeah, you remember last
I'll be
year?
there.
What a great
I love
event that was.
we scheduled at 5 p.m. as well.
Okay. Wow, we got a packed weekend. The Colossus race. For those of you who have never tried racing those things, I dare you. I just dare you.
Hey, they've added more speed to them, though, haven't they?
They made them way more fun.
They overhauled it.
Yeah,
they totally overhauled it. You can actually drive them around like an actual vehicle. They're not as sluggish as they were. Last year we had a Colossus race under the water. You can only imagine. It was. We laughed from start to finish. It is the most hilarious thing to do is to try and get those huge vehicles to traverse in the weird environments. And some of the tracks that people have made for them are great. I look forward to this year's Colossus race, especially since they've overhauled it, because it always poses as a really fun challenge. So that's going to be great.
Do we know who won the previous weekend, the Nautilon roll and the cave race?
Yes, the cave race. Was that Rabbit Gripper who won that race, or
Rabbit Gripper got the gold, I believe.
Awesome, awesome name, Rabbit Gripper. I don't know why it just sounds like it. I would never have thought of putting those two words together, Rabbit Gripper, but it just sounds awesome together.
He's a fantastic fella.
And it looks like Snope City was gold for the Nautilon roll.
Who won the Nautilon?
Yes, Snow Obsidian.
Snow Obsidian. Also known as Shy Pikachu on the Amino Hub.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Yeah, he came in last group and put up some great numbers and a couple of really great launches too. One of them was a sort of a sideways launch. He came pad and flew up over onto the deck and smashed into the wall.
That's how you roll, yeah. Some technique behind it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta have some fun with it, and we did. We had a lot of fun. Cool. Yeah, Pikachu, he picked up first place. I believe Rabbit Gripper picked up second place in the Nautilon roll as well, and picked up bronze medal in the Nautilon roll as well. So it was a really good weekend. We had some great rollers out there. Slade had a great run. Deep Normie. 6, I believe his name is. Normie had a good time. He put out some good numbers. Everybody just had a lot of fun. That's what it's all about, right? Having some fun and joking around with the other competitors. So that was a good one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next weekend, and that's going to be a real blast. Yeah, God, I don't want to miss any of those events.
Dark Tower is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to tune in for the Dark Tower one, especially.
Yeah, no kidding. That's always a good one.
Yeah. Just to watch it, because just to look at the build that Ranger does for those things, man. Like they just look, it looks wild. I've actually got the book in front of me right now, the Dark Tower, and I'm looking at it, and he makes it look like the Dark Tower. It looks pretty badass.
Ranger is an amazing builder. Yeah, he's built some pretty cool builds.
Not sure,
and not just the Dark Tower, but other stuff as well. We've talked about that. We've had him on the show.
He had a project that was he was going to make his own little like HP Lovecraft system with Cthulhu and the horrors of Yig and a couple of the different monsters. And I actually really want to get with him if he's the person I was talking to earlier about it, and actually build that. I think that'd be great.
Oh, that would be
like
cool.
actually its own named HP Lovecraft system.
Yeah, I know.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. A lot of people are building things like from other works of fiction. Another one that someone was talking about during one of the streams was building Rapture from.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah, from BioShock. Like building Rapture underwater and stuff like that. Like That would be cool. All those glass tubes and tunnels that you walk through, and
well, you can sort of do that now with
absolutely
components.
Yeah. It's neat to see what people bring into the game from other ideas, other works of fiction and stuff like that too. But we are out of time for today. But dude, thanks very much for coming on. It's a pleasure to meet you and to talk some No Man's Sky. It's always fun to talk to like-minded fellow NMS lovers such as yourself, and we appreciate you coming on this morning.
I've had a great time. I've been looking forward to this for the past half week or so.
Oh, cool.
I love talking about No Man's Sky. I love talking to people shop about role playing and racing and stuff. Feel free to invite me again if you guys want. I'd love to talk shop with you again.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. Yeah, it's always a blast talking with others that are like-minded, and Captain Admin, you are no different. You're a fantastic person to get to know, and I'm really happy that we got to share you with the rest of Nerd League and the rest of Twitch too.
Yeah.
Hello, Twitch.
Twitch is great. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks again, dude. So for anyone that was listening live, thanks for hanging out with us as always. There will be a live NMS stream right after the show as well, so stick around for that. And if you're just listening to the archive of this, if you're in the future listening to this on the YouTube channel, then you're just a wonderful person. And we will see you next week.
Till next time, y'all.